Imagine you are walking across the Arctic, visibility for miles. You feel safe because you can see everything around you. You cannot see what is behind you. The tracks come from behind, following your exact path, step for step, matching your stride. And the water around you suddenly feels too thin. This is not a startled animal. A startled animal runs the other direction. This is something that made a decision before you knew it was there. That model applies to grizzlies. This one doesn't warn you, it decides. The polar bear is the only large land predator on Earth that deliberately stalks humans as prey. And what makes that possible explains something most wildlife coverage refuses to say out loud. Start with the numbers. Adult male polar bears reach between 770 and 1,540 pounds. That is heavier than a full-grown bison. Standing upright, they exceed 10 feet tall, taller than a basketball hoop. They are the largest land carnivores on Earth. Not one of the largest, the largest. And unlike every other bear, they are classified as marine mammals. They swim continuously for days. Documented open water crossings exceed 420 miles without rest. Their entire biology is optimized for one environment, the edge of the ice, where frozen land meets open Arctic water. Their primary weapon is not speed, not size, smell. They can detect a seal buried under 3 feet of ice from over half a mile away. They can locate a dead whale from 20 miles in any direction, and they can track a human being through fresh snow with the same precision. A polar bear doesn't find you. It already has your location before you know you're in its territory. In Svalbard, Norway, it is illegal to leave the settlement boundaries without a firearm. Not a recommendation, a legal requirement. I don't know of another place on Earth where that law exists for a single animal. But here we are. A polar bear can smell you before you can see it. From 20 miles away, in a blizzard. That is not a superpower. That is just Tuesday for this animal. Drop a comment if you think you could survive 24 hours alone in polar bear territory. Every Arctic guide I have read says the answer is the same. The polar bear's primary hunting technique is called still hunting. It finds a seal's breathing hole in the ice. Then it waits, motionless, sometimes for 3 to 4 hours. When the seal surfaces, the strike takes less than half a second. What that technique requires is not strength, not speed. It requires patience, precision, and the ability to read behavioral patterns, to understand where the prey must go, and to be there first. A polar bear can wait motionless for 4 hours in temperatures of minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That is colder than the surface of Mars on a warm day. And it does not shiver. Researchers documented that same cognitive framework applied to humans. In a 2017 analysis covering 144 years of polar bear attacks, the finding was unambiguous. The majority of attacks where the bear initiated the encounter were classified as predatory in nature, not defensive, not territorial, predatory. Drop a comment if you think another large predator has a higher rate of intentional human predation. The data says no, I checked. Grizzly attacks on humans are predominantly defensive, a mother protecting cubs, an animal surprised at close range. The polar bear does not attack humans because it feels threatened. It attacks humans because in its cognitive framework, humans are prey. The same category as seals, as walruses, as beluga whales. We are warm-blooded. We move in predictable patterns. We are significantly slower. A grizzly reacts. A polar bear evaluates. In the Arctic, that profile is sufficient. This is not a misunderstanding. This is a classification. Here is what most people get wrong about polar bear fur. It is not white. I don't really know how to frame this properly, so I'm just going to say it. Each individual hair is transparent, a hollow, colorless tube that reflects visible light, producing the appearance of white against snow. Against any other background, that same fur appears yellow cream. Against the Arctic sky, at the right angle, it disappears entirely. That transparency is not random. It is built for one specific interface. White ice meeting dark water. The exact place where seals surface to breathe. The exact place where humans travel through Arctic terrain. Now add the pause. Partially covered in microscopic projections called papillae, tiny raised surfaces that improve grip on ice and absorb sound. A 1,500-pound animal moving across compacted snow generates almost no audible signal. Think about that. An animal the size of a small car, moving in silence. wearing camouflage that matches the sky, approaching from downwind, from behind. The first indication of its presence is often the sound of its breathing at close range. By that point, the assessment has already been made. This is not an accident of anatomy. This is not camouflage. This is architecture. A precision hunting system refined over hundreds of thousands of years, where every single feature points at the same target. And in the Arctic, that target is always moving, slowly. Drop a comment if you knew polar bear fur was transparent, because almost nobody does, and it changes everything about how you picture this animal. Here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. The polar bear does not calculate risk the way a mountain lion does. It does not weigh prey size against injury probability. It does not hesitate the way a grizzly might. Polar bears routinely hunt adult walruses, animals that weigh up to 3,700 pounds, heavier than a full-size pickup truck, animals with tusks capable of lethal puncture wounds, animals that fight back hard enough to kill. A human being is slow, unarmored, no natural defenses, lower risk than the prey this animal hunts on an average Tuesday. We didn't enter the Arctic food chain at the top. We entered it somewhere in the middle. To a polar bear, a human is not a challenge. It's a shortcut, and the bear already knew where we fit before we arrived. Churchill, Manitoba, is called the polar bear capital of the world. Every autumn, several hundred bears converge near the town waiting for Hudson Bay to freeze. The municipality operates a dedicated polar bear patrol year-round. Bears that enter the perimeter are tranquilized and transported to what locals call the polar bear jail, an actual jail for bears, with a waiting list. I don't know why that surprises me, but it does every time. They wait there until the ice is stable enough for helicopter relocation. That infrastructure exists because the alternative has proven fatal. Scientists estimate polar bears have been apex predators in the Arctic for over 150,000 years. We have been there for a fraction of that. Drop a comment if you think that ratio matters. 150,000 years of apex predator practice. A few centuries of human Arctic exploration. That is not a fair fight. What researchers and Arctic guides consistently describe is a behavioral pattern with no equivalent in temperate predators. The bear does not charge. It does not display. It does not give warning signals. It moves parallel to its target at a distance that appears non-threatening. It waits for the human to stop paying attention. It closes the distance only when the angle is correct. Step for step, downwind, in silence. Every scientific expedition above the Arctic Circle follows the same protocol. At least one member carries a rifle, loaded at all times, not for wildlife observation. For the specific scenario where a polar bear has decided to approach without warning, because warning may not come. 1,500 pounds, silent, downwind, closing distance only when the angle is correct. It does not need to announce itself. It already won before you turned around. Drop a comment if you think a firearm is enough protection. Arctic guides will tell you it depends entirely on whether you see it coming. We don't really know the full cognitive depth of what happens when a polar bear identifies a human target. We don't really know how much of this is learned versus instinctive. What we know is this: the Arctic is the only major biome on Earth where a human being, alone and unarmed, is unambiguously prey. Not a potential threat, not an unknown variable. Prey. That distinction is not philosophical, it is biological, and it has been established long enough that the bear does not need to learn it. Some predators existed before fear had a definition. The polar bear is not aggressive, it is not territorial, it is not reacting to fear or provocation. It is hunting, with patience, with precision, with a sensory system built over 150,000 years for exactly this landscape. We are visitors here, they are residents, and we entered their ecosystem without evolutionary preparation for what lives there. No natural defenses, no camouflage, no speed. We brought rifles because nothing else equalizes the gap. The Arctic was always this dangerous. We simply were not there long enough to understand the rules before we started breaking them. Here is the number that stays with me. As sea ice shrinks, polar bears spend longer periods on land, closer to human settlements. Fewer seals to hunt, a hunger that does not pause. The behavior is not changing. The proximity is. Subscribe to Wild Deep. Because next time we go into the water, a different predator, the same silence, and the same rule. If you notice it, it's already too late.